Thank you, Kate, and welcome everyone to Montreal. The day after torrential downpours, the boatmen have ridden their ships and their undefeated record all the way down to Quebec for an opportunity to extend that and extend their dominance over the East Division to begin this season. If they're going to do that, Dwayne, they're going to have to get some great quarterback play, of course, from Chad Kelly. But really, it's been the defense that's been the story for Toronto to start this year.
Yeah, it really has. They've looked absolutely terrific, really under Corey Mace through his entire tenure here with the Toronto Argonauts. But you take a look, particularly a guy like Robertson Daniel, one of many to come over from Calgary. He's been terrific. For Montreal, you want to keep an eye on the back end on Marc-Antoine Dequoy, who's really emerged as the leader from his free safety position.
There's Robertson Daniel. Again, those 3 interceptions in the last game played back in week 4 against the BC Lions, where Vernon Adams Jr. had 6 of them, and he was very close to setting a record for return yardage in that game. Ryan Dinwiddie, the head coach of the Toronto Argonauts, says pressure up front has been the key to getting those interceptions. Has a contract extension signed this week that will lead him through the next couple of years. And Dwayne, Jason Moss fired up to be back here at home where Montreal begins 4 of their first 6 games here at Percival Molson.
Yeah, looking to get things back on track after opening the season with back-to-back victories. A couple losses to even their record, but no doubt there is no place like home, even when it's a little damp.
Yeah, we've had a lot of rain here in Montreal throughout the beginning of the season, but the turf is perfect tonight as it is all dried out from the rain yesterday. The Argonauts come in for an East Division matchup. Morris Beattie has the ball on the tee. The Argos in their white. The Alouettes in their home dark blue as we get underway from Montreal. Returning it across the 20 to the 25. Now 30, it's Chandler Worthy still on his feet and wrapped up at about the 39-yard line. Out comes Cody Fajardo after the 34-yard return.
Yeah, and you heard much talk in the opening from our panel about Cody Fajardo and his start to the season. Obviously, he's been sacked a great deal. I think a lot of that has to do with quarterback and receivers trying to get on the same page a little bit with this team, but I am very much on the same page as Milt Stiegel that a healthy and productive William Stanback will go a long way towards taking the pressure off Cody Fajardo.
They'll begin through the air. Fajardo takes a shot over the top, down the left sideline, up and for grabs, and it's almost intercepted. It was Peters that nearly had it as they were targeting right away their leading man, Austin Mack.
Yeah, setting the tone immediately in this ball game. Cody Fajardo looking for Austin Mack, who, as he said, has emerged as a big play guy. Those contested catches and testing Jamal Peters in what could be a real fun matchup for us to watch over the course of this ball game.
Montreal coming in leads the Canadian Football League on pass plays of 30 yards or more with 12. They were looking for their 13th on the first snap of the ball game. Couldn't get it. Leaves second and long for Fajardo. Jumps, thought about trying to get it away. Now rolling to his right. Dwayne Hendricks tracking down Fajardo, and he'll throw this away out of bounds. And 2 and out goes the Alouettes offense.
Yeah, situation there for Fajardo as he's flushed from the pocket where he's just looking to preserve the field position that they have, try to avoid taking yet another sack. Costigan doing a nice job coming from the front side of that, closing down that edge on Cody Fajardo.
Hendricks chasing it down as well. The big man from defensive tackle all the way to the wide sideline. Gives Fajardo the pressure, which forces the punt. Joseph Zima sends it away. Javon Leak, 91-yard punt return touchdown. He'll flip it off underneath to David Unger this time. And the Argonauts special teams unit gets creative. Out comes Chad Kelly for the Toronto Argonauts.
Yeah, Chad Kelly, one of the great stories of the early portion of this 2023 Canadian Football League season. Has the Argos off to a 3-0 start this year and has looked good in doing it.
Kelly was 18 of 20 on passes under 10 yards from the line of scrimmage. Last time the Argonauts took the field at home at BMO. They're on the road here in Montreal and ready to face the Horns. Kelly looks quick game, left, back, right, now back to the left. Scramble rolls on, and Kelly will use his feet, cuts back, and he's hit by Mustafa Johnson as we get a look at the Argonauts starting offense.
And on that offensive line, great to see Peter Nicastro 2021 East Division Rookie of the Year, healthy again this year after missing all of last season in that receiving core. Tavares Daniels, by far the most experienced member of that group.
Chad Kelly, after going for a little jog, bit of an issue with his shoe, and so checking over to the sideline as the short yardage team comes in. And it is Cam Dukes that dives his way forward against this Montreal starting defense.
And defensively, keep an eye on Mustafa Johnson, quickly emerging as one of the better defensive tackles in the Canadian Football League, now in his second season. Avery Williams, former Ottawa Red Black, back in the middle of that linebacking core. A little bit of juggling on the back end. As you heard, Deontay Evans was a late scratch. That brings Cordell Rogers in at corner. Deontay Ruffin moves from corner to halfback to replace Deontay Evans.
Rogers already an interception on the season. Be looking for another here tonight. As Duke stays in the ball game, hands it off to A.J. Ouellette on first down. No team runs it more on first down than the Argonauts, 59% of the time. And we get a look at A.J. Ouellette's work against the BC Lions. He was dinged in this game, but he still came out and performed at a high level.
Yeah, there's not much that's going to slow down A.J. Ouellette, the human wrecking ball. See the numbers, 14 carries, 70 yards in that football game as the Argos set out to control the line of scrimmage against the BC Lions.
Plunge to the top of your screen for Toronto. The other direction, it's Demonte Coxie.
What a catch.
Holds onto it on second down, squeezing it into a real tight window. That time was Chad Kelly, and Coxie made the play.
Now, from our view up top, that one was happening in slow motion. You're expecting a complete car wreck there, but Coxie, just tremendous concentration. He knows the hit's coming, brings that into his body, absorbs massive impact there from Sutton. Survives contact with the ground for the first down.
Coxie at 6'3", 200, but with the vert, about 8 feet off the ground that time to go get it for Kelly. It creates a first down, back to the running game. It's Andrew Harris. His first touch of the ball game, stretches it outside, cuts back, puts down the shoulder on Najee Murray, and steps out of bounds with another Argonauts first down.
We saw that terrific catch moments ago from Demonte Coxie. This is a young man who's really making his presence felt in his second year as a Toronto Argonaut. We saw flashes from him late last season, but just really seems to have come into his own this year, and you see 20 yards a catch for the big target so far in 23.
Take it inside to Ouellette. Outside it goes. First touch of the ball game here for Cam Phillips as Ryan Dinwiddie continues to spread the football around. We've already seen it in the hands of 2 different backs, about 3 different receivers. You can tell the script is alive and well in the hands of the Argonauts head coach.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you look at the Toronto Argonauts receiving stats on the season. We talk about the success of Chad Kelly so far. No receiver has big numbers, but to your point, great distribution. Terrific job of getting everybody involved and keeping defenses off balance in the process.
One name we haven't said yet, Curly Gittens Jr. He's at the top of your screen. This time a double move to Daniels. Marc-Antoine Dubois is there, and Daniels holds on to it inside the 5. And Kelly is fitting it into some real tight spots right now, and his receivers are making it pay.
Well, they sure are. Big contact, great move there by Daniels to get in behind the defense, but the range of Dubois on display.
Kelly to his left, dives forward, touchdown Argonauts with flags up. And if that holds, it'll be the 10th rushing touchdown of the season for Toronto, already surpassing their 2022 total.
Side.
What an impressive opening drive.
Montreal number 42. Penalty is declined. Touchdown stands.
Toronto Argonauts with a little bit of excitement right out of the gate. A couple of big plays, fantastic catches in traffic by Coxie and Daniels. And Chad Kelly barreling his way in.
If you're Ryan Dinwiddie and Pinball Clemens, I think coming off a bye, that is exactly the type of drive you want to see. Team refocused, 8 plays, 75 yards, and just under 5 minutes as Boris Beatty tacks on the extra point, and the Argonauts out to an early lead. DeVaris Daniels, little stutter spin and up the seam. He got popped, held on, and Chad Kelly plunges into the end zone. Argos lead early on Friday Night Football. There is Argonauts starting quarterback Chad Kelly as he got himself into the end zone after a great collection of catches from this Argonauts receiving corps.
Yeah, they put together a nice little highlight reel just on this one drive. Coxey first, then Daniels, both paying the price to make plays for their quarterback. Kelly pounding it in for the game's opening score.
Cam, way to switch the ball.
Perfect start on the road.
You saw him blitz, Didi?
Yeah. Taking the wheel.
It's the 4th rushing touchdown of the season for Kelly. Had 3 back in the opening game of the year for the Argonauts. That was week 2 against Hamilton. Montreal, after a 2-0, gets their second possession of the ball game. Daniel Adebaboye down the field making the tackle, and Cody Fajardo and the Montreal Alouettes. A loss against BC on Sunday, 35-19. Bit more of a mental week. Only had 1 practice on Wednesday. See if they can get into rhythm when we return to Friday Night Football. Last week, Cody Fajardo against the BC Lions on the road, a season-high 297 passing yards and 40 attempts. We really haven't seen that from this Montreal offense early in the season, Dwayne.
No, it hasn't been their mode of operation, obviously, but in this one, going to the air a little bit more, chasing the BC Lions in that football game for much of it.
Pressure on here on first down. Right into the teeth of the Argonauts defense goes William Stanback as we get a look at the Alouettes starting offense.
And good to see Stanback involved early, following behind the former Argonaut at center, Justin Lawrence. Anchoring that offensive line, Milt Stegall mentioned the desire to find a third option in that receiving corps, given the number of injured guys. We're going to keep an eye tonight on newcomer Tyler Sneed. Had a nice debut last week with 4 catches.
Montreal rushing attack just 7th in the Canadian Football League right now, with Stanback healthy and rolling. They'll go back to him here on 2nd and 3 and just can't get any push up front. Dwayne Hendricks once again in the middle of the fray.
Yeah, Hendricks, such an underrated defender for these Toronto Argonauts. Unsung hero of this defensive line, the middle of the action. Lauren Rimolade was slow to get up after that one, now taking a knee.
Rimolade, who a lot of people around Toronto have said has been more than worth the money in free agency, goes down to a knee. As we get a look at the Argonauts starting defense, which he has featured in with 3 sacks. He's got 1 sack in each of their first 3 games this year.
Yeah, not listed as a starter, but obviously a guy we expect to see a lot of over the course of the game. Thomas Costigan, former Alouette, doing a nice job for the Argos off the edge as well in the receiving corps. Another former Al, Darius Pickett, leading the team in tackles by a wide margin in the early going this season. I'm excited to get my first look in person at Quantez Stiggers on the corner, one of the youngest players in the Canadian Football League.
Jumps into the starting lineup here for Tavares McFadden. Stiggers already 2 interceptions on the season. Joseph Zima out to send it away. Javon Leak officially caught the first punt, then flipped it off to David Ungerer. This one, side-winding boot. Leak trying to track it down, can't get there, has to play it on the hop. It rolls all the way back to the 10, Leak back to his 5. Now trying to gain some ground. A 64-yard punt. The coverage unit is right there, all over it. Tyrell Richards, the first overall pick, makes the play. Flags come out at the end, and Chad Kelly back on the field after his 4th rushing touchdown of the season on Friday Night Football. Last year, it was the week after the Toronto Argonauts had won the East Division. A meaningless game. They sat out 15 of their starters, but they decided to go ahead and give Chad Kelly his first start. Well, he did what he does. He ran around, he had some fun. They ended up getting the victory. For more on his first start in the CFL memories of last year, here is Kenzie Lalonde.
Yeah, so that was Chad Kelly's first full football game in almost 5 years. He says he knew Montreal was going to throw everything at him, the cover zero defense, to see what he was made of. And he knew he had to stay calm and have a mindset of live for the next down. A mentality, he said, really helped him in the Grey Cup. And more importantly, he learned about the importance of maintaining his energy and the strength of his arm in the fourth quarter. Two techniques he's still working on this season. Guys?
It was great to have the conversation with Chad this week where you asked him the question, Dwayne, of, hey, what did you learn when you played Montreal in your first out last year? And he goes, basically that they were just going to blitz me every play, and I had to figure out where to go with the football.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of what Noel Thorpe does anytime, but especially with a young QB in there. Kelly knew he was going to be tested and felt that helped him against Winnipeg in the Cup.
Screens it to the backside here. Curly Gittens Jr. makes the play. First down for the Wilfrid Laurier alum on the score sheet here in Week 6.
Excited to see matchup between a couple of the league's top Canadian receivers. Curly Gittens Jr. and Keon Julian Grant, both picked in that 2019 Canadian Football League draft, both over these last couple of years really establishing themselves among the top pass catchers in the CFL, period.
Kelly 4 for 4 to begin the football game. Hands it off here to A.J. Ouellette, who runs right into Marc-Antoine Duquois, the free safety, all the way in the middle of the pile alongside Mustafa Johnson.
How about the emergence of Marc-Antoine Duquois as one of the top free safeties in the Canadian Football League? Just fantastic speed. This was the thing that everybody knew about him, was that this guy was just an elite level athlete. But the way that that has translated onto the Canadian Football League field in this, his third season, has been remarkable. Just terrific range, great instincts, always around the football.
Hard count here from Kelly, and they will blow it dead. Flags come up, as it looks like Nick Usher jumped in. And was there a reaction from the other side? Jean Allen, the right tackle.
We'll see who wins the battle of the finger pointers down there.
Tim Croker, our lead official in the ball game here
Offside.
tonight.
Montreal number 10. 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
Remains second down, but a much friendlier second down and distance here for the Argos offense.
Second down and 4. Coming into tonight, Toronto's offense, 9 of 18, converting 50% of these. They lead the league in second down conversions, though. Kelly gets the handle, gets it out of his hands quickly. DeVaris Daniels running away from Wesley Sutton, and a big hit. Down the sideline, it's Ento finishing it off, but not until Toronto gets a big chunk of 22.
Yeah, and you know the pressure's coming. You're going to see both linebackers come from depth on this play. For Montreal, right off the right edge of your screen. Kelly knows the ball's got to get out quick. Watch Daniels get his head around quickly. Just nice execution there against the blitz for the Toronto Argonauts offense.
Daniels a bit of a slow start to the season, but in rhythm now between the game against BC and here in Montreal. Got a couple touches already. With a handoff around the back of Kelly to Ouellette. He crosses the 50, now the 40. Little burst from 34 all the way down to the 30, but a flag is down behind the play.
Looks like we're going to get a hold on the perimeter on that A.J. Ouellette run.
Fuck up. 4 yards are gained holding. Toronto number 83. It's a 10-yard penalty, remains first down.
It looked like David Unger, keep an eye on the right side of your screen. Little grab on the back. Slowing down the Alouette defender.
And now a flag comes up in Toronto's offensive backfield as they're walking towards the line of scrimmage, and Kelly's confused.
Too many players in the huddle against Toronto. It's a 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
So in a nutshell, not allowed to do any sleeper sort of stuff. You're allowed to have 12 guys in there. You can't have late substitutions. I think this was just a matter of miscommunication of who was supposed to be in there. But the idea being you've got to give the defense a chance to match substitutions.
Andrew Harris in the ball game. They'll try to screen it out for him. Tyrese Beverett. They went conservative on second and a few kilometers. And Andrew Harris paid the price.
Yeah, pretty sure the Alouettes were standing in their defensive huddle. You see Beverett just hiding behind that goalpost. You can see the 6 of his 26. But I think the discussion in that Montreal huddle was, yeah, watch the screen. Tyrese Beverett says, I gotcha, and is all over Andrew Harris on that.
So now second and forever for Toronto. Again, they go back to the screen, set it up differently, get some blockers out in front for Harris. And they get a chunk of yardage back, but it won't be enough to move the sticks. And for all the good things that Toronto has done throughout this year, offensively, defensively, special teams, offensive penalties have been a problem last in the CFL right now, and that certainly cost that drive.
Yeah, and ultimately it's the kind of thing that you have the sense is eventually going to catch up to you. And preventable things, right? I look at that too many men in the huddle situation as just a matter of simple communication between players. It's very avoidable.
Maybe a teaching tape moment for Chad Kelly as well, just staying out of there until he knows he's got the right people in. I'm sure Ryan Dinwiddie will talk that through with them. As this one, a low line drive, skips down to the 10-yard line and will roll out of bounds in front of Chandler Worthy. As Haggerty sends that one out of bounds effectively. Can they get William Stanback going offensively? 39 carries coming in, just 4.5-yard average, and no touchdowns so far on this season. Wimbledon coverage continues tomorrow as the world's biggest tennis stars take to the historic English grass courts. Ladies head to the championship at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, only on TSN. Marketa Vondrasova against Ons Jabeur tomorrow in the women's championship on center court. Looking forward to that one at 9 a.m. Eastern time here on TSN. Cody Fajardo, an extra lineman in on first down. Run, look, run, give, and it is. Stanback, I mentioned no touchdowns so far this season, but trying to get some momentum, trying to tilt this field the way it's felt so often for him, where he's just running downhill at everybody.
Yeah, and I don't think that the stats that you're seeing on your screen right now are lost on Alouettes head coach Jason Moss, recognizing, as you've seen in terms of play calling in this game, the desire to get Stanback going and understanding what Stanback on a roll can mean for the rest of the Alouette offense.
Fullback James Tuck is in here as well as Stanback. They'll try to pass protect for Fajardo. Pressure's on. He dances away from 2, now 3. Finds some open space and looks down the field for the fullback, and it's incomplete. Had Tuck early, didn't want him, and tried to fit it in late. Incomplete.
Cody Fajardo ends up dancing for his life on this one. Argo's bringing 5 on the play. Jonathan Jones supplying initial pressure on the edge. You saw Thomas Costigan with a shot. Jamal Peters and Jones in late pursuit there. Tuck rather unable to pull that one in along the sideline.
2 returners back here for the Argonauts as they won't send any pressure. It's Unger and Leak. Joseph Zima drops this down to the 55. Leak fakes the reverse. Now goes around center field, loops and gets some ground into the 40. Tries to hurdle and gets tossed out of bounds into the Alouettes bench. Just a 39-yard punt and a nice return from Leak that time. But Toronto Argonauts in their offensive rankings, of course, they've only played 3 games right now. They're going through their second bye week in the last 6 weeks to start the season, which is crazy, but they are still producing.
Well, they certainly are. The numbers have been impressive, especially given that this was a team coming into the season that was like they're the defending Grey Cup champions with an asterisk, because they were changing their starting quarterback. Chad Kelly had only the 1 start at the end of October last year against Montreal on his record.
4 receivers to the right of Kelly here. Hands it off. A.J. Ouellette has to go right down the middle of the field. At Owls front, once again, stacks it up. Mustafa Johnson. Him and Dwayne Hendricks have been active tonight. The defensive tackles getting after it inside.
Well, and they're like the unsung defensive tackles, right? When you're Mustafa Johnson, you're playing behind the beside the somewhat legendary Armando Sewell. The Montreal D-line, Dwayne Hendricks, sometimes overshadowed, as many people are, by the massive Sean Oakman on the Toronto defensive line. But a couple of pretty terrific football players in their own right, Marsh.
2nd and 7. Argonauts best in the CFL at converting it. This down and distance. Pressure on from the field. Kelly looks right into it. Now fades away. Flags come up behind the play. Likely a hold. Kelly across his body. Marc-Antoine Dubois intercepts it. And the Alouettes have possession. Kelly just 2 interceptions on the season as a late flag comes up at the end of the play as well. But he's thrown his 3rd, and Dubois was right there to pick up the poor crossbody decision.
Oh, Marc-Antoine Dubois, I think he deserved a little bit of a gift this week after being robbed of one against the BC Lions. But Chad Kelly, young quarterbacks are sometimes going to make young quarterback mistakes, and Kelly in a bad position. You said the words, Marsh, throwing across his body while under pressure, tosses this one up into the middle of the field.
Holding. Toronto number 53. Penalty is declined. Major foul, unnecessary roughness. After on the return, Toronto number 59. 15 yards. First down, Montreal.
A big play there from Marc-Antoine Dubois.
Finding a caravan in the stands to pitch the ball to. So Montreal with good field position here. Will begin by trying to slide out the back door. Courtney Davis in his first touch of the ball game here for a gain of about 8 yards on the play. First-year CFLer out of Texas.
Yeah, and the Alouettes, some constantly moving pieces, it seems, in that receiving core. You heard the panel talk about the injury situation to open the season, as Greg Ellingson, Reggie White, Tyson Philpott, all unable to play thus far in 2023. But some opportunities being opened up as a result for the likes of Courtney Davis.
Short yardage. Jason Moss likes his starting quarterbacks to handle this. So Fajardo, as a flag comes up, gets stopped. Sean Oakman finishes things off at the end of the play. And we'll sort out the penalty flags.
Offside, Toronto defensive line. 5-yard penalty, makes it a first down.
A big opportunity coming off the turnover here for the Montreal Alouettes to capitalize, edging a little deeper with that penalty into Toronto Argonaut territory.
Alouettes' first down here was roll inside. 25 seconds remaining in the first. Stand back. Winton McManus has him going nowhere. Lucky if he got back to the line of scrimmage on this one.
And then Winton McManus continuing to just be a monster in this Toronto Argonaut defense from his weak side linebacker position.
Some of the frustration there from Jason Moss as he tries to get the running game going again. 7th in the CFL right now. Highly efficient passing game. Moss loves that. Wants to see some more productivity out of his back. This time Stanback lines up as a receiver. They'll screen it back. Austin Mack just his second target of the ball game, and a big hit flowing back into the play. It's Thomas Costigan, the former Montreal Alouette, signing on in Toronto in free agency. And that will end the first quarter. It was an explosive drive for the Toronto Argonauts that gave them the early 7-0 lead. They're holding on. Last year, the 3 games between these two teams, only a 7-point differential. Should be a close one. Come on back, quarter 2 after this. The stats through one quarter of play here in Montreal, 7 first downs for the Toronto Argonauts. You just saw Montreal just get there first, but certainly a reinforced emphasis on trying to get the football into the hands of number 31.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you have to avoid getting discouraged, right? I mean, the Montreal Alouettes obviously trailing in this ball game, but lots of time left to just a one-score difference. But we've seen a couple of times where they get that good production on first down, struggle a little bit on second down, and you wonder how long they're going to remain committed to this new commitment to the run game. But I think it's very important for them. We've all said it from the start of this ball game, the importance of William Stanback to this team and how much of a difference he can make in terms of making Cody Fajardo's life a little bit easier.
And used a little bit of that play action and throwing it out to the flats. Got a touch early on to the outside to Courtney Davis, and now a long field goal attempt will come here for Cote. This one from 47 yards away. He's 10 of 12 on the year thus far. Had some memorable adventures against the Argonauts over the last couple of years, but this one, no question, through the uprights as he improves on his tally for the season. Now 6 of 8 from that distance.
As the Alouettes' first 3 points of this ball game coming off a turnover, that Marc-Antoine Dequoy interception.
As much as you love having points on the board, obviously, for Montreal here, now 7-3. A little bit scary when you realize Toronto just says, yeah, we'll take the football. Let's just act like this is the first quarter again, where we drove the length of the field. It's almost a complete rehearsal for the start of the second here for the Argos.
It seems the tone has been set, particularly in this matchup, Toronto offense versus Montreal defense, for a little bit of physical play. And on that Dequoy interception return, we saw a couple of pretty good collisions, including one between Dequoy and Argos running back A.J. Ouellette.
Late substitutions here, and I think an illegal substitution as David Unger came flying off the sidelines. So they're mixing and matching personnel packages.
5-yard penalty, remains first down.
And they'll call a time count violation as they were trying to sort out who was in the huddle, who wasn't. But a little sloppy on Toronto right now, coming off the bye, trying to get the right plays and packages in.
And interesting to see them sort of slide into a little bit of a doldrum here after that quick start that they had.
You see the center there, Darius Sirocco out of Burlington Assumption. Set to snap it back to Chad Kelly. Kelly looks outside, gets it to Unger. Pushed out of bounds down that sideline by Cordell Rogers, close to the first down marker. It looks like it should be enough, getting all the way to that 50-yard line.
Yeah, Rogers jumping up. Unger slides to the outside. You know, Unger, another receiver picked in that 2019 draft, high pick by the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Never really got untracked in Hamilton. Seems to have found a home here in Toronto, though, getting an opportunity early on.
Inside handoff to A.J. Ouellette. As we get a look at A.J. and his career, certainly one of the mascots for all things double blue in their Grey Cup championship season last year.
Yeah, he was a guy who just gained momentum as the season went on. And, you know, there was a feeling at the start of the year like this is a guy who had kind of hung around for a couple of years without ever really finding a full-time role in the Toronto Argonaut backfield. They go out and sign Andrew Harris in free agency, and you kind of think, oh, Ouellette's going to be expendable. He ends up having the best year of his career.
Kelly loads it up, off balance, throws into traffic, knocked away. Tyrese Beverett was intended for Curly Gittins Jr., but Marc-Antoine Dequoy would have been right there as well, as Kelly a little off balance on that one.
Chance for the Alouettes to a little bigger hold on the momentum that they seem to have gained here early in the second quarter of this football game. See what Chandler Worthy and the return unit can do as far as field position here.
Worthy averaging about 10.5 yards per punt return. Has himself a touchdown earlier this season against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. This one on driving all the way back 2 yards deep into his own end zone. 58-yard punt. And a Darius Pickett, the starting strong side linebacker DB, He makes the play on special teams. A beautiful evening here in Montreal. Argos lead 7-3.
It's back, baby! We're taking it to another level. Go where no Shark Week has gone before. Shark Week starts Sunday, July 23rd on Discovery.
Nobody does a Shark Week promo like my man Dwayne.
I believe in Shark Week, Marshall.
Cody Fajardo begins this possession, backed up, gets it to Keon Julian Grant, third in the CFL in receiving yards, is the 166 shy of his career high set last year, and he'll add to that tally here for a nice little chunk in the screen game.
Yeah, this is a play that became bread and butter for Keon Julian Grant last year. The hitch screen, recognizing that his athleticism allows this to be a big gainer, despite being barely a forward pass. He's a terrific athlete, a guy who can make people miss, run through some tackles. It's just been fun to watch his career trajectory thus far.
Caleb Evans in with Armando Sewell dancing off to the edge to push for the Montreal Alouettes here. As we get a look at Keon Julian Grant, some of his work this season, on pace to eclipse Ben Cahoon's Montreal Canadian Club record of 1,561 yards from 2003.
Yeah, and that speaks volumes about the kind of season that he's having. And it's been said by so many people. I mean, this is the guy who been put out at the Z receiver to start his career, that often forgotten spot out on the wide side, and has just increasingly made plays to the point that they needed to figure out more and more ways to get the ball in his hands.
First and 10, handed off, Stanback, nice hole to run through, and punishing run that time as Robertson Daniel came down and had to fight his way through. But Keon Julian Grant, 7 second down conversions this year, leads Montreal. As you say, get him closer to the football. He just keeps making plays for them.
Yeah, and there are the numbers speaking to it as you see the climb over the course of his first few years in the league. St. Francis Xavier University product, limited to just one catch in his first season. 36 a year ago, and just looking to smash that through the first third of 2023.
2nd and 2 here after the downhill run by Stanback. They go back to him. Toronto all over it. Falarna Rimalotti, you see him there in your shot back on the field. Good to see for Argos fans. But Stanback, did he get enough?
Well, this has been the thing that Alouettes have had nice success, it seems, with Stanback on first down. 2nd and short has been a little bit of a challenge for them in the ground game.
You wonder when Jason Moss and Cody Fajardo will start to say, okay, it's fine to have first down success, but we got to figure this out on 2nd and 3 or less. Start mixing and matching. Caleb Evans back in the ball game. Armando Sewell, big number 90, goes to the top of your screen alongside Nick Usher. Evans will go crawling over the top before Peters finally tags him down.
Caleb Evans spent much of last season as the starting quarterback in Ottawa. Coming over to Montreal in free agency, where he's the number 2 man and taking care of business in short yardage.
Taking over for Dominique Davis, who left in free agency to go to the BC Lions. Working in that quarterback room that this Alouettes team saw on Sunday. Already back on the field here on Friday. And this time Evans stays in, fakes the run, takes it off himself. And Robertson Daniel adds to his tally on the year of tackles, now up to 14.
And things getting a little heated on the outside between Austin Mack and Jamal Peters.
First play of the game set the tone for these guys, didn't it?
Little nose-to-nose debate, a flag thrown at the end of that tete-a-tete.
a misconduct foul, 10-yard penalty against Toronto number 3. It's a 10-yard penalty. First down, Montreal.
But you mentioned it, Dwayne, early in the year, talking to Austin Mack, how much people hate dealing with him because he loves to block. I got a feeling Peters is already getting a little tired of seeing 81.
Yeah, we'll take a look. Down here as the two of them come together. Couple of big dudes, each trying to sort of mark their territory, so to speak.
Claiming his on 1st and 10 across the 55 and into Toronto territory.
And you get that feeling that William Stanback is gaining momentum as this game goes on. Big physical running back that you invest in him early and hopefully reap dividends late in the game, as his style of play can take a little bit of a toll on the defense.
All 5'7", 180 of Sneed in there in his second CFL game, getting a block to kick out the end for Stanback. Stanback stays in the game. In comes the fullback, James Tuck. Show run, flip it out, intercepted. It's Winton McManus back down in Montreal territory. Fajardo thought he saw it correctly. They were reading off McManus. And 48 made Fajardo pay. Tried to flip it over the top. And Winton McManus comes away with the interception. Just the second of the season for Cody Fajardo.
Well, two players to keep an eye on here. The tight end, Regis Sibasu, from his tight end spot. He's going to run a quick slant. Also, Winton McManus, linebacker. Watch what his eyes do off the run fake here. Looks like he's going to crash on Stanback, but then his eyes go straight to the eyes of Cody Fajardo. Sees him look to that pass lane and jumps it immediately. Fajardo thinks he's got an easy completion there, but McManus sucked him in. Comes up with the pick.
Second carry of the year here for Curly Gittins Jr., but very clearly reading off of Winton McManus, it looked like on that play, Dwayne, and you can see Winton so smart before the snap. Hey, I'm leaving. I'm going to go ahead and dive inside here on the run. Just kidding.
Yeah, it was that one step forward, and then he stays right on where the ball is. His eyes, you can see, go right to Cody Fajardo's eyes, and he gets in that throwing lane. Produce a big turnover for the Toronto Argonauts.
48. Making a couple fewer of the big plays, the interceptions, knockdowns, sacks, fumble recoveries, but back on that tally now as a flag comes up on 2nd down and long. Kelly rolls to his left, wants to take a shot, now uses his legs, and he'll slide down across the 35. They'll sort out the flag. And it looked as though offside will be the call.
Yeah, I thought Davaris Daniels was a little early on his waggle on that one. We'll see if there was any other movement on the play.
Offside, Toronto number 80. 5-yard penalty, remains 2nd down.
This will back the Argos up.
And the offensive penalties coming into tonight, they have been an issue on this side of the ball. 7 total penalties for the Double Blue right now, 55 yards. And last in the CFL in offensive penalties against. It's backed them up here to 2nd and 13. Kelly looks underneath, checks it down, H.A. Ouellette. And it is Ento making the play once again. Fabian Ento, 17th tackle of the season.
Well, one of the things Jason Moss talked to us about early in this football season was the desire of his defense, the willingness to always run to the football. He says you see that effort in practice, it's translating to games, and it was on full display on that play.
I just love when you see a boundary corner in the middle of the field. You see a defensive tackle hitting somebody 20 yards down the field out at the sideline. Like we've done a lot of Montreal at the start of this year, Dwayne. That is constantly happening with this defense. Haggerty set to punt this one away. High hanging boot. This is not going to be good field position as Montreal camping out underneath it. The savvy Canadian.
Yeah, the no yards is going to help the field position. Good heads up play by Dubois.
Marc-Antoine Dequoy camps out underneath it. There is Austin Mack trying to get on track here. 23 catches on the year.
There is Darius Pickett, the former Montreal Alouette, lined up. Wide man here. Notice he's trying to stay behind the punter to be onside. Marc-Antoine Dequoy over on the Montreal side has him matched up. Onside means he doesn't need to give 5 yards because he's behind the punter. Dequoy recognizes the situation, isn't going to let that ball hit the ground or be recovered. But that's why there's no penalty on the play, is because the wide man for Toronto was lined up behind the punter when the ball was kicked.
Yeah, great look at that as you see Pickett putting together his chin strap after colliding with William Stanback on first down in a gain of about 3 yards. But yeah, I thought that those Gunners were going to go in motion. They never started running, so real heads-up play by Marc-Antoine Dequoy to just camp out underneath that one.
Yeah, I wasn't going to be fooled by his former teammate Pickett on that one. The guy who was looking to hitting some of his old friends this week, by the way. Darius Pickett, physical ball player.
Quick game this time. They do complete it to Austin Mack. Mentioned him going to break just a second to go. He's been extremely productive for the Alouettes so far throughout this young season. Mack and Keon Julian Grant accounting for 67% of the pass targets in this Alouettes offense.
Yeah, here working out of the slot, number 2 receiver. Darius Pickett may have thought for a moment he was in line to get an interception on this one as he's racing to the ball. Fajardo slips it in there. Just past his outstretched fingertips.
Fergie Mayala motions to the line of scrimmage here as they'll delay handoff to Stanback, cutting to the right side and plunging forward. Looks like it'll be a gain of about 6 on first down.
And great pursuit from the backside there by the aforementioned Darius Pickett, having a busy stretch here on special teams and defense for the Toronto Argonauts. He's going to creep up unblocked and track this one from the backside, nearly getting a piece of the Alouette running back.
Pickett's already got a bunch of red on his uniform from the Alouettes helmets all over that. It looks like he's almost wearing the old Alouettes uniform with the red, white, and blue. Fajardo fakes the run, pumps, wants to take a shot over the top, breaking free from coverage down the left side, incomplete. Looking for Davis.
Well, and I know there's been some discussion about the number of sacks given up by the Montreal Alouettes and questioning whether sometimes Cody Fajardo is getting happy feet back there, leaving what looks like a clean pocket. But to Fajardo's defense, watch how long he stands in here with things absolutely collapsing on him. The Argos get a great push right off the hop. Fajardo stands right in there, steps into his throw, nearly comes up with a big play down the sideline to Davis.
Davis, their big play guy, coming out of camp, according to Danny Machocha. Want to see him stretch the field a little bit. Unable to do so there. 3 catches on the season so far. The Argonauts punt return unit hits it. Tyrese Beverett finishing off the tackle after a 45-yard punt. It's Chad Kelly in the Argonauts offense. Back on the field, already over 100 yards, but that one crossbody interception really didn't pay the price for it all that much, but certainly one of those decisions that you saw Vernon Adams Jr. back in week 4 against Toronto. You don't want to let one pick become 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6.
No, that's exactly it, as the old saying goes. It's not a mistake if you learn from it. It then becomes a lesson. And I think for Ryan Dinwiddie, he hopes that that one is a very clear lesson for his quarterback, Chad Kelly.
Kelly begins with a handoff to A.J. Ouellette. Drives the legs forward. There's Jamal Davis making the play. We've hit the 3-minute warning in Montreal. The Argonauts 3-0 for the first time since 1991.
Getting roasted on social media again. You know what we need? Live feedback.
Yes.
Yeah, how do you guys think we're doing?
Yeah, baby, yeah.
There's the confidence boost.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Thank you, Okay, looking forward to seeing the panel with a live studio audience coming up in just under 3 minutes time as Chad Kelly completes another pass here. Up to about the 40-yard line. Won't be enough for the first down.
Toronto Argonaut offense that started very quickly in this ball game and has cooled off after that red-hot opening. Looking to see if they can finish with a couple of big plays the way that they opened, try and get things back on track before the break.
3rd and 2 here. They lined up and didn't go for it. Against BC a couple weeks ago, decided to just take the time count, back it up, and punch it away. We'll see if they do snap the ball. And this one looks like a theater production of the highest standard. One of my favorite things that crowds cheer for. Yeah! We got him!
They didn't fool us.
Violation. Toronto number 12. This is a 10-yard penalty. Remains 3rd down. Timer, please set the clock to 2:24. Thank you.
Ryan Dinwiddie a little fired up on that Argo sideline.
The Argonauts will take the time count and punt it away. In their own 30. Haggerty standing all the way back at his 20. Taylor Worthy, always dangerous. The ex-Argonaut. There's 38, tries to get to the field side. Flags are down. 43-yard punt. And that's going to be a penalty against Montreal on the return, as spilling out of bounds goes Benoit Marion and Frederic Chagnon. As we get a look at Cody Fajardo back out onto the field here. And man, how many sacks has Cody Fajardo taken over the last couple of years? It has been an absolute battle for him to stay up on his feet, whether in Saskatchewan Green or in Montreal. As we go down to field level, here is Kenzie Lalonde.
Yeah, I had a chance to speak to Jason Moss about that yesterday, and he said, look, it's not one person, it's not one group. When you look at those 22 sacks, if you break it down, you go back to the game against Winnipeg, well, when they were in the red zone in particular, it was really just a chance. It came back down. They didn't turn the ball over. It could have been a close game at the end, regardless of the sacks. A game against BC, well, if they were better in areas, then the sack total really wouldn't have climbed. So regardless of the numbers, it's all about understanding the realities. It's going to happen, but you can't get down on the play. Fajardo made an emphasis yesterday saying they have to give the ball to stand back. They need to try this run game. And guys, I think it's working for them.
Yeah, right now they have not given up a sack, say, off the first 2 quarters almost of football here in week 6. No one made my body hurt just standing here, not actually playing football. Cody Fajardo, 149 sacks taken since 2019.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Paying a little bit of a price.
We get a look at some of the penalties here that racked up against these clubs. Block in the back, and then a face mask here on Quantez Stiggers.
During the return, illegal block, Montreal number 34. Major foul, face mask, Toronto number 42. It's a 5-yard difference. It's first down, Montreal.
But 149 sacks since 2019. And we didn't play football in 2020.
Yeah, just putting that into perspective.
You know I'm a believer in the ice bath, Dwayne, but I got to hope that Cody is too. Because he is fully healthy right now, and the Alouettes certainly hoping he can stay so throughout the year. Take the inside option, pitch it to the edge, and whoa! There's Wynton McManus, already got an interception. He's flying around tonight.
A little bit of pop in that hit from McManus, 48. Getting out in a hurry, stand back, tries to turn it up inside. McManus, who had just such a great breakout season. It's interesting to see guys like he and Rimolade come over from Calgary in free agency over the last couple of years. Guys who had worked with Corey Mason, Calgary, maybe flew under the radar a little bit out there, but proving themselves to be real Canadian Football League stars now with Toronto.
Okay, on Julian Grant, motions over to the field. They'll throw it backwards to him. KJG breaks across the 45. And is close to the first down. Needed the 47.
Julian Grant played his high school football at St. Michael's College in Toronto. Rather storied program.
Caleb Evans comes off the sideline here. Alongside extra offensive lineman Jesse Gibbon, former 2nd overall pick to Hamilton. Moved around. They got a couple of former Argos Ticats on this offensive line. The one that hasn't changed, Christian Matt, right guard, 170 games played. He digs in here on 3rd and short. Helmet comes off Deontay Knight as the Western Mustang gets handed his blue bucket back after Evans creates a first down.
Nice look down the line of scrimmage here as you see Deontay Knight's helmet pop straight up in the air.
Did he ever have it on?
Did I do up my chin strap?
You find out real quick when you didn't do up the chin strap, don't you? As Deontay is down on a knee. That is not a pile in short yardage I'd want to go into with a helmet on, let alone off.
Well, Deontay, 2nd round pick for the Toronto Argonauts last year, is the defending Metros Trophy winner as the top lineman in Canadian University football as a senior. He and Tyrell Richards, high school teammates in the Football North, Clarkson Football North high school program.
Outstanding young players on both sides here defensively for these two East Division clubs. Standback gets the screen, runs across midfield into Toronto's end once again with a little over a minute remaining, and Montreal still looking for their first major of the ball game.
Yeah. Keep putting the ball in this guy's hands. Not a sack, but another hit on Cody Fajardo, but not before he gets it to William Standback on the screen. Nice pick up there for 31.
Fajardo, quick drop, looks to his left, gets it out, completed. Austin Mack against Peters, and it will be, it's like a first down up to the 41-yard line as Mack regroups quickly, and they will move the sticks.
Yeah, Austin Mack out wide towards the top of your screen here. You can see Peters playing off. Mack sits it down. Take what he gives you, which is enough to move those chains.
Adding to his total for the night, Canadians Hergy Mayala and Keon Julian Grant just to the right of Fajardo here. Fake it, try to get it underneath, and that's a very similar play to the one McManus intercepted earlier. A little gun shy maybe from Cody that time.
Toronto Argonauts certainly doing their part to get this one pulled off the playlist by Cody Fajardo at halftime. This time it's a Darius Pickett getting in that throwing lane.
Lives to play here on 2nd and 10. Flags come up. Flip it out. Stand back. First down for now. As it looks like Thomas Costigan was offside. There's an injured Argonaut down as well, as it's a Darius Pickett grabbing at his right leg.
Yeah. Wonder if he might have.
Offside. Toronto number 97. Penalties declined. Result of the play is a first down.
Pickett was involved in a big collision with Standback here as he went to make the tackle. I wonder if he may have tweaked that leg trying to fight off the block before the collision. He just kind of stumbled in as he attempted to make the tackle, but looked like his legs kind of got caught with his feet planted awkwardly as he was fighting to get off the block just a split second before that hit.
And already tonight for Toronto, we've seen Falarno Rimolade have to go to the sideline for a couple of snaps. Deontay Knight, a minute to go get things checked out. And now you see Darius Pickett getting checked out as well. At the half, Chezzy, Maddie, Miltz, and Kate back there with a live studio audience ready to entertain, just like a 90s sitcom back there, you know?
I think it's exactly.
It's about 150 seats right in front of them. You know, multiple sets. They just move from room to room.
You know, I think if you were to follow those 4 around with cameras, I think you could make a pretty good sitcom. I think they would come up with some pretty good material.
Still waiting for that Matthew Shinetti and Matt Dunnigan movie to come out. Darius Pickett back up onto his feet. It's a handshake from Keon Julian Grant. Pickett with 20 tackles coming into tonight. Leader in total defensive plays right now for the Double Blue.
Let's see what shuffling the Argos do.
Yeah, they don't have Walter Fletcher. Or sorry, I was just about to say in the backfield here for Montreal, kind of mixing and matching as Pickett makes his way to the sideline. But yeah, that linebacking core for the Argonauts. McManus is out there. Looks like Jones is in at middle linebacker as he has been, but who will play that strong side?
And it looks like John Doe Edouard has come down. Canadian Carlton.
He's the flex player here as they'll get it to Mack on a quick screen right down the chute. Nice Mechie, free safety, has to finish it off. And a quick play inside 30 seconds remaining and the Alouettes offense moving.
Yeah, Alouettes finding some success with the screen family. Whether hitches and bubbles to the receivers, traditional screen to stand back. Slip screen there. Just chipping away.
Fajardo needs someone on the line of scrimmage. He moves Mayala down, pulls the ball, pressure on, and down goes Cody.
And Edouard, the rather seamless transition into this lineup. Making a quick play from that nickel linebacker spot. Here's the youngster. Reduces down, closes on it in a hurry. Nice job.
10 seconds remaining in the half. Fajardo takes a shot to the back of the end zone. Off for grabs, flag down. Touchdown, Alouettes. Sneed.
I'm not sure that this is exactly how you draw it up, as you had a couple of receivers converging on the play, Mack and Sneed. Both right there. But the end result, the highlight reel touchdown for Tyler Sneed and the Montreal Alouettes.
I think that one was going to Keon Julian Grant the whole way. Cody never looked to his right. They ran into the same spot.
Yeah, sorry, Grant in there. I thought it was Mack. I just saw the one, the jersey, but yeah, those two receivers converging at the football.
For a passing attack that only had 2 touchdowns coming into tonight, I don't think Cody cares who caught it. Especially at the end of the first half, a desperation shot after taking a sack. 10 plays, 73 yards in just 2 minutes. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the Montreal offense comes to life, and Cody has a laugh with Keon.
Montreal closing the half the same way Toronto started it, with some fireworks, big catches, and a touchdown.
Asked Danny Machocha before the game about Sneed, who you get a look at here in the slot there, Dwayne. He said, yeah, he was one of our best players in camp. We had to get him on the football field.
Yeah, he's going to work towards the post coming from the top of the screen. You're going to see Julian Grant working towards the same place. They bring 3 defenders with them between the 2 receivers. Grant kind of ends up boxing out to make sure Deshaun Amos can't get over there to help out. And Sneed, part of the East Carolina air raid, comes up with a nice grab. for the touchdown. Could be that number 3 guy in the receiving corps that Milt Stiegel's calling for. Conveniently wearing Milt's old number, by the way.
Might be a damning indictment on my career in touch football. That kind of looked like double posts when you don't want double posts. Who cares? Into the end zone, Montreal goes. As the Argonauts return it to end the first half. No flags are down. And it was Dejon Brissett bringing it out. As you see, Reggie White Jr. having a laugh with his quarterback. White Jr. unable to play so far. He's been injured throughout the season. They're still looking around and trying to figure out who's going to step up with Tyson Philpott out. Greg Ellingson still hasn't played so far this year. And maybe it is Tyler Snead who could step in and make some grabs for an offense. He is down at field level with Kenzie Lalonde. Kenzie?
Well, Tyler, my oh my, just moments ago, your first touchdown. I mean, we talked about establishing the run game for the group this year, coming into this game in particular, but for yourself, do you feel like you can exhale a little?
Yeah, that was an awesome moment. Awesome ball by Cody, and in crunch time, too, right before half. So super excited about it.
What did you see in particular when you kept going deeper and deeper and deeper, but he made the connect?
Good coverage that we got, and then as I was getting deeper, I felt some of the guys from the backside coming. But like I said, he threw a great ball, and I just had to catch it. So.
Second game, first touchdown, not too bad. What has to happen here to keep this lead?
Just keep doing what we're doing, playing good physical football, and limit the mistakes. Just play our game. We'll be good.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Kate, I'll throw things back to you and the panel.
And that panel is David Sanchez, Matt Dunnigan, Milt Stiegel. Unfortunately, our live audience had to go to bed. So we're just going to have to rely on social media again for this one. Bill, coming into this game, you said, of course, that the Montreal Alouettes needed more from William Stanback. He hadn't really impressed anyone to this point in the season. That arguably the best half he has had so far. 44 rushing yards, 26 receiving yards as well. So impactful so early on.
Impactful. And Cody Fajardo is probably the happiest about it because he gets to hand off the ball and he's not getting pressured and hit all the time. So this was a must for this team to be able to run the ball. They haven't been able to run the ball all year long. You think about the last 2 games, William Stanback has 14 carries for 57 yards. He came into this game only averaging 42, 43 yards a game, and now he's at 44 yards, but he's also contributing out of the backfield. And this is not only helping out William Stanback, this is helping out the entire team. The offensive line, they don't love anything more than being able to run block. That helps them out in the pass block. Their defense now, they're on the sideline getting the rest because Montreal is able to run the ball. So the byproduct of him running the ball is helping out everyone on this team.
Yeah, Milt, and Kate, you mentioned the point. He receiving the football out of the backfield, William Stanback. In their 2 wins this year, he's got 7 receptions for 83 yards. So multifaceted, and use him in a lot of different ways. I love it. We've been a lot of talk about Chad Kelly, justifiably so. We need stars in this league, and he's a young bidding star, and it's fun to watch him because his skill set. And now his receiver's going to work. Coach, you right there, beautiful catch. You're not going to see much better than that. That is just gorgeous. That's a beautiful move. And then here, dime. Another one to Daniels, just on the money, lets him go up the field. And this one doesn't look like much. This is a hitch. And he sticks it on Unger. Unger's got space, room, and he gets the first down. Now here, this is just playing the game and learning the game. That's a big no-no, and he knows that. He's been taught that his entire life, but you got to go out there and you got to take the good with the bad and learn from it. And that's what you saw the young Chad Kelly do right there. And I love the way that the veteran on the other side responded to. Cody Fajardo making it happen. These quarterbacks are neck and neck in stats. Chad Kelly 10 of 12 and a pick, 111 yards. Fajardo 9 of 15, 105, 1-1. And to me, these guys are doing what they got to do, leading their football teams.
It felt early like Toronto was going to run away with this, right? But a couple big plays, the turnover, obviously. When I look at this Toronto defense, one of the things that I'm really loving right now is and I'm not surprised. You look at their coaching staff back there. Willie Fields, the secondary coach. Willie Fields, Josh Bell, some playmaking guys. Well, first, let's watch this. A.J. Ouellette has trucked a whole lot of guys in his life, and I'm sure he'll truck plenty more. You're not going to see this very often. He gets trucked by Anthony Ducroix. But back to the Argonauts defense. They're playmakers back there. They got guys in their secondary. It's what you see. You got to believe it, and then you got to hit it. And that's what they're doing. They're disguising pre-snap. You saw this. This was the pick from McManus, but he shows the half and the safety backing out, and then as the ball snapped, you see McManus bail out and get that pick. But But what I was talking about this secondary, what I've seen from them that I really like is that they have guys, not only they disguise, but they're believing what they're seeing and they're hitting it. And that's half the battle. If you're a secondary guy, yes, you can disguise pre-snap. We talk about it a lot. But you got to really believe and trust what you see and hit it. And Josh Bell, Willie Fields, guys have played in the secondary a long time. They're coaches. I'm not surprised that these guys are playing like that. Yep. We saw it last week against BC, and we see it again tonight. Big plays. Shout out to DeQuoy for finally trucking a big running back.
Remember I ran over you that time when we were playing chess?
All right, producer says we got to wrap it up. Great ball game so far, 10-7 Alouettes.
But it ain't too Jackson, forget the door slamming out the drive, tearing up the gravel, saying she ain't coming back. We'll be on the porch thinking I should be drinking. She don't love me anymore. Running up a tab with a bottle dressed in black. Pour me another glass, 'cause it ain't you and Jack.
It is our first doubleheader of the CFL season. What an exciting Saturday on tap. First up, we have the Winnipeg Blue Bombers taking on the Ottawa Red Blacks. You can see that at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. And then the week wraps up with the Calgary Stampeders taking on the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Let's go back to the Elks for a minute. Victor Kiwi spoke after the game, addressing the home losing streak and just really the tough season that has been for the Edmonton Elks. And this isn't just this season, it's seasons overall. It's not as easy as we think. And Milt, I know every time we watch one of these losses, we think, okay, just change of personnel. But because of the football operations cap, that isn't that easy.
No, it's not. No, it's not. And you talk about that cap, a lot of people don't like it. Actually, one of them, it takes away from what you can do with your staff. But unfortunately, they're in a position now where they can't make many moves. They're paying a GM and a coach from years past, and they have a coach on their staff now who's fully guaranteed for 4 years.
How honest was Victor Cueto? I love it.
I love it. You got to appreciate it. You
don't get that very often from guys in his position. I love the fact how honest he was.
That's it?
No, I just been hearing change. Got to make changes, and now we're hearing salary cap, operation cap. Yeah, that's the problem. It's been the problem all along, and so you got to find a way to make it work from within, and it's just not as easy as fire everybody, get somebody who knows what they're doing.
There's changes that can still be made.
These guys know what they're doing, and it's just sometimes football's not a perfect world. You strive for that, and it takes time, and these guys are trying to figure out. I think what they did in that organization,
there's changes that need to be made.
They need trust in that organization.
No, there's still changes that can be made. There's changes that can be made.
Here's the one thing I know. The four of us, we're not fixing this. We're just not. But we'll keep talking about it until they start winning. In the meantime, the Alouettes up by 3. Stats coming up right after this. First half stats with the one and only Davis Sanchez.
One of the stats that's not up there is after that Argos' first touchdown drive, the next 5 drives were 4 punts and an interception. It seemed like they could do anything they wanted to start this game off. I think they took their foot off the gas a little bit. Let's see what's happening in the second half. Also, penalties. 70 yards penalties for the Argos in the first half.
Ooh, that is rough. We'll see how they come out in the second half. Back to Montreal with Marshall and Dwayne right after this.
Stats brought to you by...
Boys have been bad playing CFL football. Pain is up for grabs. It's Friday night football tonight.
Welcome back, everybody, to Montreal. A beautiful evening continues to roll along as we get set for the third quarter. Montreal leading by a couple. after they, of course, had themselves a late first half drive. Let's go down and talk to DeVaris Daniels. He's field side with Kenzie Lalonde.
Well, DeVaris, 2 for 46 for yourself here tonight. How do you feel about the game so far?
It's all good. We, as long as we can stop hurting ourselves on offense, I think we can come back and do some big things in the second half.
What was said in the locker room as you head out here?
30 minutes. 30 minutes. Go out there, keep playing, execute, play Argo football, and everything should be good.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
30 minutes of football left. As he says, Toronto in out of the gates quickly, settled in, and now, if it's anything like 2022, we got a close one on our hands for the next 2 quarters of CFL football here in week number 6. Devon Leak turns this across the 25, turned back inside, and not many people are going to outrun Marc-Antoine Dequoy on special teams. Out comes Chad Kelly to set the tone here in quarter 3.
Yeah, and hoping to set the tone in quarter 3 the way he set the tone in quarter 1. That's where the Argos produced their offensive highlights in the first half. Both those catches by Coach C. Daniels, as well as that touchdown, all coming on their first possession of the ball game. Argos started on a roll, cooled off in a hurry, looking to get back to where they started from.
Okay, we're going to go run. They'll flip it back. David Unger catches it. It's a screen game. One missed block by Cam Phillips. Montreal secondary right there to cover down Kabian Ento, once again proving to be a top-level tackler at defensive back.
Ento nailing down that boundary corner spot. A guy who was kind of an athlete looking for a position in his college days, and a stint in the National Football League with the Green Bay Packers, who looked at him as a DB. That has become his position of choice.
Kelly on 2nd and 5. Looks over the top. Curly Gittens Jr. hauls it in. Gets back on his feet inside the 30 and finally wrapped up inside the 25. Is the ball out on the ground? Montreal has it. Tyrese Beverett.
A massive offensive play, immediately followed by a massive defensive play. Curly Gittens Jr. suggesting that he was down. I was marveling at the casual nature with which Chad Kelly flipped that ball down the middle of the field for that huge gain. We'll take it one more look here. The ball coming loose, untouched. Gittens gets back up. Let's try to locate exactly where the ball comes out here. Ento pulling on it. Tough to tell from that angle if it's out before Gittens hits the turf.
57-yard catch and run, as you see Ryan Dinwiddie with the challenge flag out, and he's wondering, is this automatically being looked at? Turnover? Should I challenge this? Under review it is.
Yeah, I think this is our best look. See, Ento comes in, he's grabbing at the football, gets a hand right in there. Gittens trying to get to the turf. And I think the right knee, that Gittens' right knee might have been down before that ball was clearly out. But again, remember, benefit of the doubt here because of the call on the field. I think he's down.
Roughing in there. Tyrese Beverett was the one that came up with the football, but overshadowed in all of this, the explosive play, the fumble, the recovery. As you say, you get a look at the casual arm strength of Chad Kelly. Step forward, flick the wrist.
Yeah, dropped it in there perfectly. Gittens tracks it. And I think that the right knee was down, but if the officials in the command center are not as convinced as I was, the benefit of the doubt here would go to the Alouettes, because that was the initial call on the field, was a fumble recovered by Montreal.
Curly had not had any pass plays of 30 yards or more so far this season.
So So we're getting word that the debate here is Gittins down by contact here as Ruffin goes by. I think he got a piece of him. Watch the finger. You see the finger. If the glove fits, Marshall, you see the finger bend back there because he made contact.
The command center is determined that the ball carrier was down by contact at the 34-yard line. It is first down, Toronto.
And tough for people here inside the stadium not to see, because everyone was thinking it was just about the fumble, as we were, until we got word that they review all aspects of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and as mentioned by Tim Croker, automatic review by the command center on the turnover, or called turnover.
And now it's sloppy all over the place. Whistles. Unger will check out. In comes Andrew Harris.
13:53. 13:53. Thank you.
Chad Kelly and Ryan Dinwiddie live on. 1st and 10 after the big play. 57 yards to Curly Gittins Jr. More whistles. Now they're just asking to reset the play clock, as they moved it back to a 42-yarder, losing 15 after Curly Gittins Jr. got up. Stretch run, A.J. Ouellette. Nice running lane, cuts back, more room, inside the 20. And A.J. Ouellette into the 15-yard line, as Andrew Harris and Ouellette on the field on the same snap.
Yeah, Andrew Harris lines up as a tight end on this one. And with A.J. Ouellette carrying the mail, there's Harris, the far left side of your screen. He's going to work to second level as he stretches to the linebacker Williams. Ouellette cuts it back for a nice game.
Stretch run again here for the Argonauts. Ouellette setting the tone early in the third quarter for an Argonauts rushing game that's first in the CFL with 136 yards per game.
See the tail end of this one. Everett narrowly avoiding the flowing locks. The Argo running back.
And up high around the helmet, back of the shoulder pads. No flag down. Kelly looking to throw. Bending it out right into the end zone for DeVaris Daniels. Incomplete.
You see Daniels coming out of the slot on this one into the end zone. Kelly tries to squeeze it into a tight window here. See Wes Sutton quickly closing on that one.
I wondered whether or not Ryan Dinwiddie, who was ready to throw the red challenge flag on the Curly Gittins Jr. debacle a couple of minutes ago, would still have that flag close in his hand for early contact. Wesley Sutton, to his credit, Dwayne, he jumped this. He was all over it, saw it coming, but was he there early?
Toronto is challenging for defensive pass interference. The play will be reviewed.
Let's take a closer look.
Welcome to a part of the show that we like to call pass interference or bang bang play.
And I have said many times over the years in the world of replay review that have, quite frankly, on so many of these calls to me, if you have to go to slow motion to see that it's pass interference, it's not pass interference.
Get a look at it in regular speed. You be the judge. Looks like football to me.
Yeah.
Toronto hadn't challenged yet. Here's the call.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. Toronto, after losing the challenge, has lost a timeout. It's third down.
Also lost their first challenge attempt of the entire season. Only the BC Lions now left as a team in the Canadian Football League that has not challenged a call.
Saving them all up for the playoffs. The challenge 36 times.
Is that how that works? Carry them over?
Yeah.
I hope not.
We might slow the game down a little bit.
Boris Beattie trying to knock things up at double digits. And the former Alouettes kicker hammers this one through. 10-all East Division matchup. Dinwiddie hydrating, ready for the second half. Fajardo, career best 1 interception on 112 pass attempts coming into tonight. For the most part, it's been clean all over the place. Screening it back to Stanback, getting it out to Austin Mack. Really, you take away the one decision, flipping it over the top into the hands of Whit McManus, and this has been a productive night, including the touchdown at the end of the first half. Tyler Sneed.
Yeah, big finish. We'll see where the Alouettes go as they get the third quarter going here.
Fajardo keeps it. Flips it to the outside, and it is Mack getting his first touch of the second half. Trying to continue to use him in a variety of ways. Mack's interesting to him because they haven't really used him the way they used Gino. They haven't used him the way they've used other guys. And Jake Winicky, others, he's his own player.
Yeah, well, and part of this is, I think the Montreal Alouettes still figuring out exactly what Austin Mack can do, but also guy obviously talented, but a first-year CFLer and trying to figure out his way, trying not to give him too much.
Fajardo spins out to his left as he loves to do, looks over the top for Mack, taps the toes. First down, 81, as Peters overran it.
Right along that sideline, Fajardo on the scramble. Classic Cody spin escape there. Doubling back to his left. Mack, not so much of a route as just a go hang out on the sideline.
6 catches, 71 yards to this point. Puts 2 down, just to remind you, he came from the National Football League in the New York Giants. Robertson Daniel blitzing off the backside. They'll run away from it. Bursting through the hole. It's Jezrin Antwi getting his first touch on the ground since week 3.
Well, Antwi, the University of Calgary product. Saw a lot of action. William Stanback was injured last season.
Burst that 70-yard run back in week 1. Remember that? He came out of the gates and set it on fire. He's been in the lineup a lot over the last 2 years, contributing. They hand it back off on 2nd down and 3. And Antwi, a regional combine invitee, had to earn his way into the draft conversation.
Yep.
He's done it, stuck in the league, and fighting for every yard here for Montreal.
You see Antwi and Stanback in that backfield together. And remember, we talked in the first half about Montreal seemingly successful on first down, struggling a little bit in those second and short situations, giving the ball to Stanback. They tweak things a little bit. Let's give a different look. Let Stanback be the decoy. We'll give it to Antwi. That seems to be working for them on this drive.
Now they're coming at you with Tuck, the fullback, Regis Sibusu, another big body, and both backs. Straight downhill, try to go with a little lead play with Stanback being the lead blocker, and Darius Pickett sniffed that one out immediately.
Let's get more fullbacks on the field.
I knew that Marco Dubois touchdown in Ottawa was going to go to your head.
Yeah. Yeah, you get the feeling, though, the way the early part of this Canadian football season has gone, with so much of an emphasis seemingly league-wide on play at the line of scrimmage, physicality, that, you know, big ball may be making a bit of a comeback.
Fajardo gets it out to Keon Julian Grant. Flag comes up late, likely roughing the passer, as Cody Fajardo got smacked behind the play by Sean Oakman. And Fajardo pointing that it will be a first down, and Oakman might have just bailed Montreal out because they would have had to send out the kicking unit.
Major foul, roughing the passer. Toronto number 2. 15-yard penalty from the end of the play. An automatic first down.
We talk all the time about the factors. You see Oakman coming from the hash mark, bottom of that defensive line. Following through with the left hand. Pretty blatant one there. One that I think could have been avoided by Oakman. As you can see, the ball was gone as he finished that one.
Easily avoidable. I will say, when one of the branches on Oakman hits you, it's going to look pretty violent. This one skips away from Fajardo, picks it up, running around, trying to find any daylight, and he will go down. That will count as another sack on the fumbled snap.
And one of those that going to frustrate a coach. It looked like a pretty good snap. Just got away from the Alouettes quarterback. He does the best he can to limit the bleeding on that one.
And Moss wants him to throw it away and save the yardage, as that'll put them in 2nd and long. A little bit of awareness there. Could use some from Andrew Harris, who against BC a couple weeks ago got the handoff, had nowhere to run, and said, you know what, I'll throw this thing out of bounds.
Yeah, veteran move.
Fajardo with 2nd and 13. Lauren Rimolade ready to pass rush. He gets off the edge. Rimolade almost gets home. They flip it out. Stanback makes the grab and tracked down at the 20-yard line. And it will be the field goal unit for Montreal.
You saw Stiggers from the Argos secondary quickly close on that one by the time the ball got to Stanback. Nice spin move, but the Owls running back just unable to maintain his balance on that one as the Argos bail out defensive tackle Sean Oakman after that penalty.
And these meetings between Moss and Fajardo, whether Saskatchewan or here in Montreal, we've asked them about it at the start of the season and say, you know what, sometimes it gets fiery, but that's just because Moss cares so much. Fajardo takes another lesson to start the season here in Montreal. Kick is good. Montreal retakes the lead in their defense, ready to hit the turf once again. At Percival Molson, Marc-Antoine Ducroix, Montreal Carabin alum. An interception here tonight. Lives and breathes football. He's back with us after this on Friday Night Football. Marc-Antoine Ducroix, one of the standouts in this Montreal defense. They love having him roam the back end. He's been doing it in this city for a while. 2016 to 19. University de Montreal, of course, 2019 first team All-Canadian. Pick 6 and a Dunsmore as well. Standout player, so much range. Great story as well with his connection to the Carabin here locally. For more, let's go down to Kenzie Long.
Yeah, Marc-Antoine had said that jump to professional football wasn't that big because Danny Machocha created such a professional environment during his time with the Carabin. He said his first practice with the Alouettes felt just like a Carabin practice. And that professional setting was kind of a first for Marc-Antoine Ducroix, who grew up playing for the Ile-Bizard Vikings. He didn't play high school ball, which is, again, mainly coached by parents. And then when he went to college Montmarie, well, there he was injured, only ended up playing 5 games over the course of 3 years. So to then link up with Machocha, develop a professional setting has really bode well for him, understanding preparation and, of course, understanding film. And, guys, considering it's a short week, that prep is really paying off.
AJ Ouellette with the gain of 8, leaving 2nd and 2 for Ducroix to defend here. My favorite part of our chat with him this week, Dwayne, was he said, yeah, in university I used to be able to just bait guys and be able to track it down. People are pretty fast in the CFL, but I can still get interceptions. He's got one tonight.
Yes, sir.
You see him right there on the McGill logo at midfield. They'll flip it out on 2nd and 2. Ouellette gets the corner, cuts it back. AJ putting on a show tonight here in Montreal, inside the 20.
Well, 70 yards on the ground for Ouellette last week. In the Argos' last outing, rather, against BC, coming off a bye. The legs are looking pretty fresh as he gets this one north-south. Yet another big gain.
42 big ones that time for number 34. adding on to his tally on the season. Catches his breath. In goes Andrew Harris. Right back to the well. Stretch run outside. Najee Murray hacks down the legs of Harris. Gain of about 6 down to the 15-yard line. And back and forth these two go. They found such an interesting combination, Dwayne, of when to use. They're leaning on Ouellette, but Harris is still going to get his touches. Yeah. They mix the run and the pass. They get him in the game together at times.
Well, and just a great tandem they've been. The way the two of them kind of feed off of each other. You know, where it's not like they're fighting with each other for reps, but they are fueling each other's performance here.
Kelly in the gun, takes to Harris, looks to throw into the end zone. Can he get inside the short corner? Touchdown, David Unger, his second of the season.
We'll take a close look at the feet of Unger in the corner of the end zone, automatically reviewing a scoring play. Here, watch the poise of Kelly to allow the defender, Beverett, to overrun him. You saw how close that was with these cutoff corners in the end zone. Well, good thing David Unger only wears a size 9.
Likely possession and right foot, likely enough to be able to confirm this one. We will see as all scoring plays automatically reviewed.
Foot down. Yes, clearly inside. Nice job by Unger. Again, those angled corners of the end zone with the track here at Molson Stadium. Limiting his space, but he got it done.
Beatty knocks through the extra point.
To everybody hating behind those TV screens, what you gonna do?
Unger is on it. More than just one. He's got 2, and he's got 2 touchdowns on the season. Argos leads 17-13. There's David Unger, the touchdown maker on the last drive. Standing next to A.J. Ouellette, who rumbled for 42 yards on the ground to set it up. And here's another look at the major.
Yeah, the thing that stood out to me watching this one, obviously the concentration in that corner by Unger, but the poise of Chad Kelly with Tyrese Beverett in his face was just kind of that pause with the ball, knowing the defender was going to overrun him. Kind of a pause, a half pump fake to make sure it happened, and then a nicely placed football.
League leader in kickoff depth, Boris Beatty hammers this one down to the 5. Here comes the Argos coverage unit. Robbie Smith tracked down Chandler Worthy. A flag down as well, but out across the 40 goes Chandler Worthy. We'll sort out the penalty on the other side. David Unger into the end zone. Argos back and forth East Division matchup with the Alouettes. Coverage of the FIFA Women's World Cup begins Thursday with Canada's tournament debut against Nigeria. History awaits as stars Sinclair, Buchanan, and Fleming take to the pitch looking for victory. Tune in at 10:15 p.m. Eastern, 7:15 p.m. Pacific. TSN and CTV are your home for exclusive coverage all tournament long. Going to be a great tournament. Claire Hanna, usually on the beat with us here in the CFL, down there covering the FIFA Women's World Cup. It should be a fantastic display of Canadian women's soccer. As William Stanback turns the legs forward, here's a look at what he's done tonight.
Yeah, after piling up a few more yards on that carry, Stanback has been featured through the first 3 quarters of this game more than any previous 2023 Alouettes contest. And seems to be thriving with an increased workload, whether it's been carrying the football, catching screens, and other short passes. Alouette running back is having himself a night. There you see the numbers, 11 carries, 50 yards.
Again, after a first down run, they're left with 2nd and 4. This time they'll throw. Fajardo drops in the pocket, deep throw over the middle, hanging it up. Austin Mack fights back to it. Nearly had it. Incomplete.
You can see the frustration for Mack on this one. He's going to line up inside. Number 3 receiver to the field is just going straight down that hash mark. 2 defenders close on him. Great adjustment to the ball, but just couldn't make the play at the end.
A rare miscue from the smooth hands of Austin Mack. First on the start to his season. Javon Leake and David Unger back to return this one. Once again, it goes to Leake. Takes the reverse. They've done that several times tonight. 50-yard punt brought down at the 50 is Leake as we get a look at the missed opportunity for Montreal to add to their CFL leading explosive passing plays.
Yeah, and I wonder after looking at the replay of this one if Mack was expecting to have to go up in traffic and fight for this football, and then all of a sudden the defenders overran him as he holds up, watching the flight of the ball, adjusts to it, and he's suddenly all by himself trying to make the catch. But got in a little too close, and as you can see, instead of catching it in his hands, it ends up going off his shoulder pads.
Talking it through right now on the sidelines of how it caught him up high. Down the middle, Toronto complete. They somehow slipped Jean Brissett right up the seam on a little run fake.
Yeah, this was a very similar look to the Montreal pass that was intercepted by Winton McManus. We'll play action, quick slant over the middle.
And they'll go quick. Hurry up offense here from Toronto. They complete this one. Najee Murray makes the tackle of Cam Phillips. There's a change of pace for Toronto's offense after the Unger touchdown. Ryan Dinwiddie not allowing them to get complacent and settle in. Completion to Phillips. Goes for 7 yards. 2nd and 3. About 2 minutes remaining here in the third quarter. Dinwiddie working that call sheet. What's he got dialed up on 2nd and short? Inside run. A.J. Ouellette. Nobody there to block it up. Marc-Antoine Dubois in the middle of the running game again.
Yeah, we find ourselves talking so often about the range of Dubois in the secondary. He's using that speed to get sideline to sideline to help out on deep passing plays. But we've seen him sticking his nose up in the box a few times in this football game, ensuring that the Argos aren't doing too much damage in the run game.
Mustafa Johnson there with the primary contact, but yeah, having 24 down and somehow sideline to sideline in the passing game and somehow right there to help out in the run games. And he's all over the place as not enough for the first down. A.J. Ouellette popped up onto his feet, frustrated that they couldn't block it up. And so Boris Beatty comes back out onto the field. This one from 37 yards away. Makes back in week 4 from 37, 45, and 47. He's got another tonight. Knocks it through. Plenty of Argos fans here in attendance tonight. Making the trip down the 401, grabbing a cold one on a Friday in Montreal. Never a bad call. Great to see the traveling fan bases across the Canadian Football League. Where's Bobby DeBow?
Bobby's slacking off. Set a world record and shut it down.
Bobby? You here? He's probably here somewhere. Fajardo fakes the inside run. Looks to a comeback right on the outside, and again hitting the hands of a Montreal receiver, but Stigger's there in coverage. Too much for Keon Julian Grant.
Yeah, Stigger's from the Fan Control Football League. Basically never really played college football. Played in that league as a 20-year-old. Co-defensive player of the year after posting 5 interceptions, including 3 in his first game in that loop. And as you mentioned earlier tonight, Marsh already with 2 picks here early in his Canadian Football League career.
Settled in nicely in his first CFL start against Hamilton as there's a challenge flag out. They think that Stiggers might have gotten in there a little early on Keon Julian Grant and hacked away at the arm, but 42 you see right there. Had an interception against Bo Levi Mitchell in week 2. That was the Argonauts' first game of the season.
Montreal is challenging for defensive pass interference. The play will be reviewed.
Take a look at the isolated matchup here. Right hand with a pretty good tug on the number 1 on the back of that jersey. Julian Grant trying to fight back to the football.
The command center having to put in some work tonight, reviewing these calls. Had some potential turnovers, some challenge flags as well. On the season, Jason Moss 0 for 3 right now. So we get a look at game speed between these two at the top of the route. Moss is already diving back into his call sheet here. Might make you think that they're moving the sticks.
Yeah, the grab appeared pretty clear. Stiggers taking a learning moment here, talking to the officials.
Okay, on Julian Grant, a savvy move, driving his body at the top of the route right into the defender and forcing the issue as well, right? They have a decision made. Let's hear the verdict.
After review, there's defensive pass interference against Toronto number 42, and it's an automatic first down.
This will take us just into Toronto Argonaut territory.
Stiggers will flip sides of the field, go back to his field corner position, working alongside Deshaun Amos. And Austin Mack will line up at the bottom of your screen across from Stiggers. Jesuit Antwi into the ball game in the backfield. Change of pace on the last drive. This time they go to it. Completed. And there is Amos driving down, and 81 is getting all sorts of attention from this Argos secondary that leads the CFL in interceptions.
Well, you mentioned the numbers earlier in this game, Marsh. Essentially 2/3 of the Montreal passing attack running through 2 guys. It becomes easy for a defense to focus, and that's what the Argos are doing, getting after Austin Mack in a hurry. Deshaun Amos on that play essentially let Tyler Snead cross his face and kind of shrugged his shoulders and said, yeah, you go, I'm taking this guy.
See what Fajardo does on 2nd and 3 after the 7-yard gain to Mack. Deep drop, pressure on, flips it out. Antwi makes the grab, puts the shoulder down, and steps out of bounds as Jesuit Antwi signals first down, the 6th-round pick from 2019. Ball's been on the tee all night long here in Montreal. Mack toe dances. Ungerer into the end zone, matching. We got a ball game headed to the 4th. The stats after 3 quarters of play, all of a sudden, after 1 first down in the first quarter, 16 in the last 2. Montreal's offense has started to get it going, but still it's the touchdown advantage here for the Toronto Argonauts. David Ungerer making the big play, but I mean, last year, you called a bunch of these games between Montreal and Toronto. It was a 5-point difference in one game, a 1-point difference in another, and a 1-point difference in the third and final matchup between these two. They just can't get away from each other.
Yeah, and even when there are things on paper that suggest that the game should be otherwise, right? Looking at Montreal's results this season versus Toronto's undefeated record coming in. Toronto coming off a bye week, Montreal coming off a short week. But yeah, these two teams seem to bring out the best in each other in terms of their competitive fire.
We'll begin with a 1st and 10 in Toronto territory for Cody Fajardo. Again, quick screen. This time it goes to Cam Julian Grant. It's popped as he crosses the 35-yard line.
And he's got Austin Mack. Julian Grant is the one receiver out here Austin Mack is the number 2. Now, one of the things Jason Moss has talked about a lot with Austin Mack is his willingness to block. And you saw Tyler Snead getting in on it as well. But receivers working hard for each other out there on the perimeter.
Antwi out to the flats. They'll screen it back the other way. Fajardo trying. Somehow gets the arm strength to find Mayala. And Urgi Mayala gets the rare touch in this offense. And those players, Dwayne, you thought might get a little bit more action returning to the Alouettes. Hasn't happened yet, but a healthy change of pace here in Target.
Yeah, and a nice adjustment here. A little bit of improv by Cody as he's got to change his throwing angle here. Mayala starts off in the backfield just to the left of the quarterback with pressure in his face. Fajardo has to kind of take a little pause, adjust his release angle on that one. Slips it to Mayala, who does the rest for the first down.
Mayala in motion again to the right tackle spot. They'll screen it out. Cam Julian Grant, Snead out in front blocking. Keon dancing and now driving the legs through 4 tacklers all the way down to the 10-yard line. As there's an Argonaut down back at the original point of collision, but Keon Julian Grant quickly becoming one of the more dangerous yard-after-catch receivers in the CFL.
Yeah, and he really established that, I thought, last year as in terms of the percentage of his yards that came after the catch. He was at the top of the Canadian Football League as he took so many plays like this and turned them into what you would call explosive plays of 20-plus yards. You get an idea of why is Grant, you know, here in the Canadian Football League, we all know him as a receiver, but he was made his first real impact as a dominant kick returner in the AUS, playing for the St. FX X-Men in Antigonish, Nova Scotia.
Great look there at the eyes of Keon Julian Grant all the way back to the start of the catch, wide open, trying to figure out where to go with the football as Deshaun Amos is the injured Toronto Argonaut. He was trying to punch the football out and had a couple of Argonauts defenders run into him. They'll take a look at Amos while we step aside. More after this from Montreal. The CFL and TSN continues tomorrow with a doubleheader. The action starts at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific as the Blue Bombers go head-to-head against the Red Blacks. It continues with a showdown between the Stampeders and Rough Riders at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Don't miss the action, only on TSN. Wayne Ford making the trip to the nation's capital. We'll be able to see Winnipeg in action in that one tomorrow as we get another look at Dustin Crum. Some guy named Colaros he'll go head-to-head against on the other side for Winnipeg. Fajardo sends this out to the 10-yard line. Carried down near the 5. As you see, Darius Pickett back out on the field. Florina Rimolade was dinged tonight. He's back out there, so is Pickett. They took Amos off the field. And Jonathan Edward, wearing number 41, seems to be the fixing solution for any problems in this secondary tonight.
Yes. Plugging in for the second time.
The second down and goal from the 5. Fajardo looks to throw over the middle of the field. Knocked away. Oh, don't send out the smoke too soon, Montreal. Like a goal light for a Habs game that goes off and somebody goes, oops. That one almost got to Mack and was knocked away.
Yeah, looking to get the ball delivered quickly here. Fajardo right down the pipe. Looks like it got to Mack's hands, but there you see the defender, Robertson Daniel, doing just enough to disrupt Austin Mack on that one.
Well, they'll try to send the smoke off once again if they can get into the end zone on 3rd and goal. Trailing by 7. Fajardo, deep drop this time. Pressure on. Spins away. Stays on his feet. Throws it into the end zone. Touchdown, Alouettes. Second of the ball game as 7 peels himself off the turf.
there any bonus points for the sweet escape there from Cody Fajardo, as it looked like this play was dead in the water right about there? Romilade left shaking his head after he thought he had the Alouette quarterback wrapped up. Fajardo slips away. Finds Sneed on the scramble down the sideline.
Extra point for David Cote is up and good, and Falardo Romilade can't believe he wasn't able to prevent the extra points being on the board. Second touchdown of the game, as I was saying, for Tyler Sneed. 9 plays, 70 yards in 3 minutes and 38 seconds as we get another look at it.
Yeah, this one aided a little bit by that penalty against Qantas Stiggers. Heard you, Mayala getting involved. And Julian Grant, nice job on the hitch screen. And Cody Fajardo finishing it after demonstrating some of his best dance moves to get out of that pocket. Finding Tyler Sneed for the second time tonight.
He stole the first touchdown. That one was very much intended for Tyler Sneed. And he knows it. Argonauts get another possession. Across the 30, chopped down at about the 35-yard line, and that's a really important touchdown for the Montreal Alouettes offense, because you got the sense that on a short week for Montreal, Toronto coming off of a bye fresh, this might have gotten into the similar territory of the game against Winnipeg, where it's a touchdown or two advantage.
Yeah.
And the opposition was just ready to start running the rock downhill at you and wear you out. And
that uphill climb can get real steep in a hurry, but the Alouettes do a nice job fighting back into this one.
Fajardo talks it over. Davis Alexander there as well. Third string quarterback wearing number 3 with Jason Moss. And they look at some of the plays the last couple of drives, and we got a look here at Zach Lindley, the injured special teamer. 5 tackles on special teams on the year. They'll tend to him as we step aside. Time now for your Coors Light moment of chill. We've been focusing on him throughout the evening. Guy who eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Marc-Antoine Dequoy all over the field throughout the night. That was the very first drive of the ball game. Big hit on Tavares Daniels. Made an interception here on the crossbody throw from Chad Kelly earlier on. Living adventurously, finding some Carabin faithful and celebrating throughout the night. He'd love to relax with another moment of chill. The Alouettes can give the Toronto Argonauts their first loss of the season. Toronto trying to go 4-0 for the first time since 1983. Chad Kelly looks to his right, checks it down underneath to A.J. Ouellette, who cannot be brought down. Second and third wave of tacklers there finally get it done. And it'll leave second down and short.
Yeah, nice first down pickup here. Offensive line doing a nice job providing Chad Kelly time to go to work through his progression down to his running back.
Quick push across the line of scrimmage there, and it will move the sticks. But 3-0 for the first time since 91, 4-0 if they win tonight for the first time since 83. What did the Argos do in 91 and 83?
I'll tell you.
They win a Grey Cup? Or?
Yeah, I don't need to be reminded about the one in 91, but yeah. Strong start equaled strong finish in both of those years for the Toronto Argonaut franchise.
Modern record is 5-0 in 1960 for the Argonauts franchise. They lost the 2-game series.
That's modern.
To the Ottawa Rough Riders. Ronnie Lancaster, 54-41 between those 2 games. They just want this one right now in the fourth quarter. Kelly play action, now flips it out. Flags down. Ouellette free down that right side. Goes over the top of Dubois. Najee Murray finally brings down A.J. Ouellette. He's asking for a flag at the end of the play, but got a feeling this one might be coming back.
It seems like a shame to bring this one back, doesn't it? Can we keep the highlights?
Remains first down.
Can we still work this one into the highlight pack somehow?
Absolutely.
A.J. Ouellette making people miss. Looks like we got it hold on the right side of that offensive line.
Kelly back to work, fades this one down the right sideline, going up to try and haul it in. As DeMonte Coxie couldn't do it. Coverage on the outside that time by Kabian Ento as Kelly tried to go and get all of it back.
And there's Coxie going right down the rail. Ento not biting. And a little stop and go move there from the Argo receiver. Coxie had that great leap and catch on the opening drive. Unable to duplicate it there.
Well, we warned you at the start of this one, it would likely be close. Knotted up at 20, 10 minutes remaining. Crowd into it on 2nd and 20. Four-man rush across the middle. It's Coxie, falls down as he gets back to the 45-yard line. And Toronto will have to punt. So Montreal, after one first down in the first quarter, is going to get the football back here with a tie ball game. Around 9 minutes remaining.
Coxie climbs the ladder to go get that one, but long way to go to pick up first down yardage.
And the always dangerous Chandler Worthy stands back in the middle of the field at his own 12-yard line. What a time this would be for him to add his second return touchdown of the season against his former club, several-time former club. Catches it at the 15. 51-yard punt. And returns it out to the 25-yard line. Cody Fajardo back out on the field at Percival Molson. Going to get into the win column against the undefeated Argos. IndyCar returns to TSN on Sunday. Racers take to the streets of Toronto for the Honda Indy Toronto at 1:30 Eastern, 10:30 Pacific. Don't miss the action, only on TSN. Series leader Alex Palou looks to add a 5th win to his season in IndyCar. Fajardo handing it off that left-hand side, trying to follow Pierre-Olivier Lestage, goes Jezrin Antwi. Gain of 2. It'll be 2nd down and 8. Jason Moss already had the call in, ready to go as he substitutes here.
Yeah, we've seen the Montreal Alouettes with a few adjustments on these 2nd down situations here in the second half of this football game, but a little different look here at 2nd and long.
Costigan staring it down. Hard count from Fajardo. He keeps the play that he had called in on. Lets it roll. Empty. 3-by-3. Steps forward away from the pressure. Scrambling around. And down he goes. No, he actually refuses to end up on his backside until the end of the play as Dwayne Hendricks is trying to say, just go down, man. Argo's front getting tired of the strength of Cody Fajardo's legs, keeping him up.
Yeah, the protection broke down here quickly. The Montreal Alouettes offensive line. A little extra tug there after the whistle from Hendricks.
3rd sack of the night, up to 25 now on the season for the Alouettes allowed. Pressure on as Joseph Zima just gets the kick away. Oh, knocked it. Daniel Adeboboye is going to try and jump on it. And does in front of J.R. Reed. So we get a look at some of the big plays here throughout the evening in an East Division matchup of Week 6.
Chad Kelly to DeMonte Coates. He got it started, quickly followed by a similar catch and hit on Daniels. Alouettes doing their part. Sneed with the touchdown, Mack down the sideline. Unger with a little toe tap. And Sneed with his second major of the night.
Argonauts break the huddle here. 5 wide. Give the run. Ouellette bounces off first contact. Second and third until finally Mustafa Johnson ends it off, and AJ gets up and has a word before heading back to the double blue huddle.
Hard-earned 5 yards there for AJ Ouellette. You see Noel Thorpe, the Alouettes defensive coordinator, CFL veteran. Also had a couple of stops in Edmonton and Ottawa along the way.
Pressure on from Noel Thorpe, and the blitz gets to Kelly down the middle of the field. Hanging up! Davaris Daniels, Cam Phillips might have been the easier option. But regardless, Kelly finds a connection.
Yeah, Kelly just stays alive on this one. Got Daniels down one hash, Phillips down the other. Nice adjustment to this ball as it's en route. Kelly gets on, just get blasted out of the picture, taking a hit as he throws that ball up. But all worthwhile as Daniels comes down with it.
Handed off, Andrew Harris gets turned around on a minimal gain. That one went for 45 yards through the air to Davaris Daniels, and yeah, Kelly got absolutely blasted. But it's kind of like the start he had against the Alouettes last year. He said, they blitzed me every play. I had to figure out where to go with the football. Well, they kind of unintentionally prepared him for moments like this.
Yeah, learning under fire. And Chad Kelly will trade that hit for that big gain anytime.
Quick drop. This time looks to his right. Loads it up. This one thrown sharply.
No, he didn't.
DeMonte Coates. Touchdown Argos, but my, oh my, what a catch.
Come on.
You remember the fantastic catch Coates made on the opening series? That is now his second best catch of the game. This is unreal. Diving, one hand reaching in behind the defender, Ento, to make the grab. Suddenly using that left hand to separate himself a little bit. Did he avoid trapping it when he landed?
That looks about as clean as it gets to me. I was watching last night, Hamilton, Edmonton, and they said, hey, Stephen Dunbar. You remember this catch from Hamilton? Yeah, this one's not quite the full extension of Stephen Dunbar against Ottawa, but it's up there. What a grab for Coates. There's Noel Thorpe signaling that he believes Coates extended the arm maybe to get an advantage on this one.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned,
challenging the play for offensive pass interference. The play will be reviewed.
You could see him use that left hand as the ball was approaching to gain some separation. Coates on the outside on this one. He's just going right down the sideline. One-on-one versus Ento. He's fine at that point, but it's just before the ball arrives. And it holds the defender off a little bit to get some separation.
Feels like maybe Montreal grasping at straws on this one. Trying to take some points off the board. A sharp throw from Kelly. Really didn't put any air underneath it. And it created the situation where he had to make a great catch, and Coxie was up to the task.
Yeah, you could see as the ball approached, he's using that left arm. You know, I mean, both the football player and the fan in me say, let him play and let it stand. I'm not sure they'll interpret it that way.
There is Tim Croker with the decision.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. Montreal, by losing the challenge, has lost a timeout.
So maybe Jason Moss goes fishing, trying to take some points off the board.
Yeah, and a worthwhile gamble, obviously, if you're Jason Moss.
Thank you. You took his ass to the barber shop. Paid him up Friday. Anybody?
For losing the challenge, Jason Moss immediately goes back to that call sheet and tries to figure out, how do we get our own sensational catch to tie this ball game up once again? As Beatty adds the extra point. Coxie's not letting go of that thing, Dwayne.
Well, he worked hard to get it. He's earned the right to hold on to that ball. Here you'll see once again Kelly drops it right down the sideline. And Coxie just reaching past Ento to go get that football. Fantastic one-handed grab.
Challenging defenders. Despite the fact they've only played 3 games in the first 5 weeks, looking for their first 4-0 start since 1983. This Argonauts offense not afraid with Chad Kelly at the helm to throw the football down the field and make defenders try to make plays because they trust these big body receivers.
Well, and they've shown a willingness to sacrifice their bodies to make plays for their quarterback. We saw that a couple times in the opening series of the ballgame.
Early Gibbs Jr. looks it over with Chad Kelly. As the refs having a conversation after the extra point. Ryan Dinwiddie right there on the spot to get the explanation as well with a 7-point lead, 4:50 remaining.
After the play, there's unnecessary roughness misconduct foul against Toronto number 62. That 15-yard penalty will be applied on the kickoff.
Goes against Ryan Hunter. I think I saw DeMonte Coxie down there trying to add that highlight to his Instagram. Pushing it out on social media live from the sideline, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think there are lots of people around the CFL that'll look after that for him.
There it is. Yeah, just add to story. Lars Daniels loves it. Coxie adds another one to the highlight reel. Most importantly, gives Toronto the advantage here as Moss and Fajardo try to plot a comeback. Backed up after the penalty to Ryan Hunter. Boris Beatty gets to show off that strong leg, a bit of a breeze into his face, but still drills it down to the 20-yard line. As Chandler Worthy. Great starting field position here, trailing by 7. A 31-yard return as the CFL morning loss of Gene Gaines. Honored pregame. History, of course. Ottawa, Montreal, 4-time Grey Cup champion. Inducted into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in 1994.
Gene Gaines, definitely a name I remember as a player growing up, and certainly over the course of my time playing in the league and as a broadcaster, ever present as a coach. Just a CFL lifer. Gene Gaines will be sadly missed.
Great look at him coaching there as well with Montreal. As this one incomplete, flags everywhere. Trying to sneak Keon Julian Grant out the back door.
Offside. Toronto number 7. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
Between the unnecessary roughness on the extra point that backed up the Argos kickoff and this offside, Montreal getting a nice boost as they try to even the score here.
Argonauts defense that's given up a lot of yardage at the start of the season, a little over 350 yards, trying to close this one out. This one quick slip. They do get it to Julian Grant this time, refuses to go down. Carries the football all the way down to the 35-yard line with 4 minutes remaining.
And this is what I started to talk about before with Julian Grant and his earlier history in football as a kick returner contributing to his after-the-catch ability. But, you know, you get so caught up in his athleticism, his speed, you forget, like, this is a big, strong dude as he's fighting through would-be tacklers.
4 catches, 49 yards. Fajardo pats the ball, sits in the pocket, thought about spinning out, goes forward, has room, pumps. Now Fajardo takes off. Steps out of bounds at the 26-yard line.
And the Cody Fajardo secret weapon. He puts those legs to work. Pocket closes in on him a little bit, but decent protection. Doesn't see anything he likes in the pattern. Off he goes.
Fajardo creates with his legs, makes it 2nd down and 1. Montreal would take any chances here. Everyone down inside the box or just plunge forward. Oh, Fajardo's going to lean to the left. They will take a chance. Backside throw. Up in the air. Touchdown, Alouettes. 1, 2, 3. Trifecta for Tyler Sneed.
I think they found that third option in the receiving corps. Took a couple more early season injuries for Tyler Sneed to get in the lineup, but he is making the most of the opportunity. Love it off that short yardage look. Tyler Sneed sneaking downfield for the hat trick.
You love the call from Jason Moss as the extra point to come to tie this thing up. It's up and through. As we get a couple of looks at the touchdown, but 2nd and 1, you know everybody's going to be up. You know you should be able to go and get 3rd and 1. So the mentality on that one, Dwayne, just being, hey, let's come up with something. Yeah. This is the stuff you practice way back in training camp. You go, wow, when are we going to use this?
Yeah, look at everybody crammed in the box. Defensively, Sneed says, I'm getting out of here. And Stigger's the youngster, the corner on that side. Again, early in his Canadian Football League career, a look or a play call that he hasn't necessarily seen, doesn't go with the receiver.
I'm just imagining Tyler Sneed in training camp. Sorry, you want me to do what?
Yeah.
On 2nd down? First time CFLer. 4 plays, 59 yards in just 90 seconds. For that man, Cody Fajardo into the end zone, answering the tremendous touchdown catch of DeMonte Coxie. And back and forth we go in Montreal. I'm going to say, too, it doesn't seem like it, Dwayne. That's a hard throw by Fajardo.
Well,
to be leaning to your left.
Yeah.
Get all your weight going to the left. Spin around on your back foot and somehow find the arm strength to get that thing 25, 30 yards out the other way as we get a look at the extra steps here from Fajardo on that back foot. Yeah, he threw himself right into the Owls bench.
And that pressure of knowing you've got the open man downfield, you've got one shot at this.
After the play, there are 2 misconduct, unnecessary roughness penalties, one against Toronto number 30 and Montreal number 67. This is Toronto number 30's 2nd misconduct foul, and he's ejected from the game.
And so that's the starting middle linebacker. With Jordan Williams out with injury, Jonathan Jones ejected from the game. You get 2 of those misconducts, you are gone. He racked him up, and that should mean that you have the young Carleton talent Jack Kassar come in and play middle linebacker for the Argonauts the next time they're on defense, but they're about to get possession back.
It's getting to that time in the game when you're Toronto. You're obviously trying to score to take the lead, but you're also very aware of managing the clock, trying to leave your opponent no time to come back.
Big hits on special teams, but down the right sideline goes Javon Leak. As Benoit Marion in conversation with, it's like Tyrell Richards.
Yeah, those two have been at it all night on teams.
Back and forth battle on special teams. Great little battles, great big ones as well. Tyler Sneed, 3 touchdowns. As this one knotted up as we hit the 3-minute warning.
Montreal receiving core that has relied heavily on Keon Julian Grant and Austin Mack through the first few games of the season seems to have found another weapon. Tyler Sneed. Not 1, not 2, but 3 touchdown catches here tonight. His second Canadian Football League game. Been a monster for the Alouettes.
Argonauts offense goes back to work with A.J. Olaf. Jamal Davis flies down the backside to make the plays. Dejon Allen, the right tackle, slow back up onto his feet, but a good start to this drive for the Alouettes defense.
Yeah, I mean, first down production so critical now. At 2nd and 10, it's advantage Montreal in terms of trying to get off the field and give their offense a chance to win this thing.
Montreal doesn't just want to get a stop. They want a 2 and out. They're the best in the CFL at creating them. 43% of opponent possessions become 2 and outs. Kelly looks to throw. Pressure on. And it's caught. Inside the 40-yard line. Who else? DeMonte Coxie makes another.
And Chad Kelly, cool as can be in this pressure situation. Coxie working out of that wideout spot. Comes up with yet another big grab.
Coxie with 4 catches, 72 yards, and the big touchdown that gave Toronto the lead. Montreal has answered. Will Toronto answer back? Inside run, A.J. Olette. And another 2nd and long coming up for the Double Blue.
And within field goal range, you'd be selectively aggressive here in trying to get the first down, but also recognizing you're in position to score the go-ahead points already.
Long play call here for Chad Kelly, just breaking the huddle now. We'll send Coxie out to the top of your screen. Kelly rolls to his left, looks down the field. It's Ungerer! Touchdown, Toronto!
Oh, wow, what an answer. David Ungerer, as his quarterback scrambles here, sneaks down that left sideline. Gets in behind the defender, Ento, for his 2nd touchdown of the night. And a Toronto Argonaut lead. You know, we talked off the top of this ball game about a couple receivers from the 2019 draft class. And we were talking about Julian Grant and Gittins.
What you gonna do?
Let's not forget Ungerer, who was actually the 3rd receiver off the board in that draft. Behind Justin McInnes and Hergy Mayala.
I tell you, what you gonna do? What you gonna do?
We'll take another look at this one. Ungerer getting into it with the fans. Here you see the trailing receiver. A lot of motion as you see Cam Phillips coming from the backfield on this one to become the third receiver into the short side. And it just seemed like Ento kind of got mesmerized as Kelly was scrambling, eyeing up shorter routes, not thinking the ball was going deep. He let Unger get in behind him. Kelly flips it up. And Unger's got his second major of the night.
Chad Kelly loves it, celebrating with his offensive line, and David Unger quiets down the Alouettes faithful here on Friday Night Football. And all of a sudden, the Argonauts offense scoring at will.
Yeah, showing up in the first, showing up in the fourth.
Big kick from Beatty all the way down to the 7-yard line. Worthy once again. Running up to the 25-26 yard line. The Argonauts draft pick Daniel Kwamu making the play, but for Toronto's offense, 4 plays, 61 yards in a minute. The last time Montreal had possession, it only took them 90 seconds to get into the end zone. Well, if you want to go ahead and knot this one up again, Cody Fajardo, you're going to have to answer in 90 seconds or so.
Pretty much. The way this game has gone, and given the history of close battles between these two teams, I wouldn't bet against it.
See what the Alouettes have for their home fans here in week 6. When they drive the field, they'll begin with a run into the Argos defense. Stacking it up for now.
Four, 7.
They'll add 6 extra seconds onto the game clock here, and the Alouettes already breaking the huddle, ready to go. You know the way that Jason Moss prepares for these situations. He's been thinking about final drive calls probably since halftime.
As an aside, you referred to Jonathan Edward as the fix-it for any missing pieces on defense for the Toronto Argonauts in this football game. So most recently, it's Jones that goes out of the game, the middle linebacker. So they've shuffled the defense. The Edward comes in at halfback. Looks like Robertson Daniel moving down to linebacker.
And Daniel has been the one that's made the most big plays defensively, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, interceptions, knockdowns. So why not put him closer to the football?
Oh, check that. Sorry, the juggle on the back end. Stiggers goes into halfback. McFadden at corner. Daniel down to linebacker.
And in the middle, Winton McManus. As Fajardo with pressure. Oh, tries to spin out to his left. Falarna Rimolade. And he gets his 4th sack of the season. It backs Montreal way up with 3rd down to come.
4th of the season, but perhaps biggest. Right here. Rimolade collapsing the pocket from the side. Oakman just crushing it from the middle. I think it was the big fella that got in on the feet of Fajardo to bring him down.
Oakman's had a great presence, but not a lot of stats so far this season. Just 2 tackles and no sacks coming in. Huge play there. It's 3rd and 17. Desperation time for the Alouettes. Over the middle, Kalen Julian Grant. Tackled, brought down. And Jason Moss looks on in frustration.
Argos defense answers the bell. Here and now just up to the O to run out this clock. Argos with just 4-man rush. Keep everything in front of them defensively. That's exactly what they do. Robertson Daniel with the tackle.
Kelly loves it, and Cody Fajardo Shakes his head. Surrender Cobra in full effect for Jason Moss. At the end of this one, Red Kelly hands it off. A.J. Ouellette right into the middle of the pile. Burn a little bit of clock there. And Montreal, after starting with 2 wins against the East Division, Hamilton and Ottawa, lost 2 games against the West, lost here on Canada Day against Winnipeg, went on the road, took on BC, lost a close one there. And they came home, and they were really motivated on a short week to try and get a victory against Toronto and equal the Argonauts' 3 wins on the season, giving Toronto their first. But Chad Kelly and company in control right now. Step comes up, he'll end around this time. And just taking a seat is Curly Gittins Jr.
Argo's just looking to try and keep that clock moving, obviously, in this situation. But for Montreal, you know, a stretch that it became apparent pretty quickly this CFL season that this stretch of Montreal's schedule was going to be pretty tough, as I think most would argue. In whatever order, Toronto, Winnipeg, BC have been the league's 3 toughest outs.
And this to make it a 2-score football game. Max protection is in for the Argonauts. Forrest Beatty lines it up from 43 yards away. Trying to go 3 for 3 on the night, just like he was a few weeks ago. He's missed it. Well, well, well.
It ain't over till it's over.
And the CFL game of the year so far still has potential to go further, as Dinwiddie trying to call timeout and denied as the kick came up and went wide left. And the week after, Beatty became the 7th all-time leader in field goal percentage on his career at 82.3. That number takes a hit. And the Alouettes somehow still have life after going 3 and out in desperation mode just about a minute ago. Fajardo looks to throw down the left sideline to go get it. Austin Mack got punished as Quantez Stiggers came over.
Yeah, perfectly timed hit by Stiggers, as Fajardo is just throwing this one into an open window, which Stiggers was about to slam shut down that sideline. Doing exactly what he had to do to ensure the receiver couldn't catch that ball.
Fajardo against a 4-man rush. Slides to his left, escapes the pocket, looks downfield, Stanback makes the grab up to about the 47-yard line. And it'll be 3rd and 3 with 20 seconds remaining.
Last gasp here for Cody Fajardo. And if you're Toronto, you're still probably willing to give up that first down. Just don't give up the big play. Keep them in front of you.
It is converted. As Courtney Davis gets wrapped up. Moss already on the headset talking to Fajardo. With 10 seconds left, maybe you get one, and then you got to take a shot to the end zone here, Dwayne?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Fajardo sends the receivers in motion.
Got to be a quick one.
It is completed over the middle. They're within range. They'll stop the clock. 2 seconds remaining. Where's Tyler Snead?
Yeah, exactly. That's what the defense is asking right about now, is the Alouette receivers already got 3 touchdowns on them. But here we are, 32-yard line for Montreal. Austin Mack has established himself as a great contested catch guy. Are they looking that way?
4 across on the back end for the Argonauts. Will they throw into it or go underneath and let the circus prevail? Fajardo hangs it high in the air into the end zone. Intercepted. And that will do it. He didn't start the night, but he'll end it. Tavares McFadden gets his second interception of the season. And a highly competitive back-and-forth matchup between Montreal and Toronto. A lot of turnover on these rosters, but emblematic of the 3 great games they had last season, ends with an Argonauts victory.
Yeah, Cody Fajardo throwing up a prayer at the end. Nothing open. He's just going to take a shot on the Hail Mary, but Argos had it well covered. McFadden, the man who comes up with the pick to close this one out. A great East Division battle here between the Montreal Alouettes and Toronto Argonauts.
Tell you what, give me this one a couple more times.
Yes, sir.
Cody Fajardo and the Alouettes now into a 3-game slide. Winnipeg, BC, and now Toronto. They will go into a bye week. DeMonte Coxey, a couple of fantastic grabs here tonight. 3 majors for Tyler Sneed. David Unger got a pair. AJ Ouellette over the top.